Okay, hey guys, so let's give me my little video for this time. Hopefully the lighting's not too bad. I'm in my room, but the lighting's kind of all over the place. But so with that being said, three takeaways. So I'm gonna start with my first one. The first takeaway was the correlation with escaping and avoidance and how those things are kind of correlated in a way. But I wanted to touch base especially on escaping, because in a lot of senses, like people do tend his example in the lecture was when a baby is crying, you kind of give them candy so they can be quiet, and that is a form of escaping because you don't want to deal with that behavior. So guess what, I'm gonna just kind of give you something so it can calm you down for the meantime. But that's just like a temporary type of fix. It's not something that's gonna work long term, because obviously individuals recognize patterns and behaviors, and that's just gonna be something that they expect. They're like, oh, they're gonna correlate crying with a candy, so let me cry more because it's gonna give me what I want. Which, for the other person that is escaping, and for the individual in behavior, that is a form of, hey, I can get what I want. It's a form of reinforcer for them, which causes them to continue to cry and doesn't really fix anything. And so in that sense, that individual going into behavior, they know that since I cry, I can get whatever I want, so let me keep crying, which is a form of them escaping doing anything that they don't want to do, because they know if they cry, they're going to get something they want, or A, B, and C, and they're just going to kind of correlate it to those things, which is so interesting how that works. And it's a really cool takeaway. And another takeaway too is just like the positive and negative reinforcements, and how much those impact in general, because they're really big. And I really like how much that ties into the presentation that we had this past week. All of that just kind of correlates very, very good way, especially because the presentation that we had was over reinforcement extinction. So those correlations really do go together. And how they were talking about positive reinforcement, and in the lecture, just really getting individuals to do what you want them to do, and change their behavior in a very positive manner, even though that can also be negative, which, like, a negative reinforcement would be escaping, because everything is correlated, which is really cool, because you give them what they want, and obviously giving them what they want is going to cause something like that in some type of way. And also extinction too, that would be one of my third takeaways, is extinction, and just getting rid of a behavior. But in the lecture, our professor mentioned that before it gets better, it's going to get worse, and that is so true. Behaviors get to enhance so much before they get better, or they enhance even more, but they might also add even more tackles that you were like, whoa, this wasn't even happening before, but now that I want to help you and actually help you navigate these emotions, and you're actually getting really good at it, you want to test me. And it's because it's just the way how it works. And so it's really cool how before behavior honestly gets so much better, it really does get worse, because they have to tackle all these other barriers to get to that extinction. And over time, that behavior just lessens, and by the time, it's just going to disappear at some point, or it's going to be it's going to kind of shift into something else, but might be something positive, which is really cool. And those are my three takeaways. And two takeaways from the presentation. I mean, I already kind of correlated some, which was positive reinforcement, but I really just liked how they really like focus on also like target behaviors that they wanted to work on, like for example with the girls, to sleep on their own, and respecting just boundaries, and being able to measure that, which is a really good way to express like duration, frequency, and all that, which I really like how they implemented that, especially with something like that, a behavior like that. And the extinction, they also talk about that, of course, which correlates to our lecture, and how they want how their sleep and homework correlation to go together as part of the extinction. And just talking about the ABC data, the ascendance, behavior, and consequences. So all of that was really cool from the lecture. And I would say like those are kind of like two little takeaways, but I really also liked how so probably oh, and I also like how they mentioned about it being a control thing, like the girls having this control over their parents and how much that gets them what they want, because that correlates to what we were talking earlier. It's escaping. It's like, oh, I do A, B, and C, I get what I want, and all the parents were giving in, so they were escaping basically 24/7 from the parents, and the parents didn't even know or didn't even acknowledge correctly, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeding into this a little more, and it's gonna be even more difficult to take something like this away, including like the pacifier. That's a big one. But because the parents were dealing with something, and they were, especially the mom, didn't want to see her baby growing up, she was like, maybe this is a short-term way. We don't really know why they did it, but we just know that she didn't want her to grow up, and this might be a short-term fix, but in reality became a long-term fix, which is going to take some time and consistency, and just constantly working with her to decrease that behavior, and hopefully one day it just becomes extinct and she don't even have to worry about no more pacifiers. So yeah, but I would say those are my 2/3 takeaways. This was a really cool presentation. I'm really interested in reinforcements and extinction. They're really interesting, and how you can really minimize these behaviors in a very beneficial way. So I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. It was as much as I did. It was good.